Welcome to my review of Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. It's about time I did this fucking review, but of course I needed some time to play it, and now I needed some time to make this video, so I am one of the biggest Crash Bandicoot fans in the whole wide fucking world. So my opinion is the only opinion that matters. Just kidding. I'm going to talk about a lot of things, and I'm going to bounce around. Before we go into it, I just want to say overall that Crash 4 is a little messy, but great overall. And this is my feelings from a lifelong fan. I've been playing Crash Bandicoot since I was 5 years old, and I totally grew up with the character, and he's one of my heroes. I think I speak for all Crash fans. When Crash 4 was officially announced, it was shocking to everybody. It was so exciting. Finally, a new platformer game, and it's with Crash. I'll just quickly say that the Insanity Trilogy remaster of the old games, I wasn't really a fan of it because, I mean, I just thought the visuals were super bland, and it just lacked that charm and the edge that the originals had, and the polish. But I was in support of them because it did bring Crash Bandicoot back. Now there's a lot I need to get to, so grab yourself some Wampa fruit and let's fucking spin right in. Before I give my opinion on the game of the title of Crash 4, I think it's important to address the original Crash Bandicoot 4 for the PS2, The Wrath of Cortex. I think that it's a good game, and I think it's massively over-exaggerated and over-analyzed by the fans. It's definitely not bad. Really don't get it. It did try to do some things that were different. When comparing it to the original trilogy, it is kind of bland. Crash doesn't make all of his expressions like he does from the PS1 era. A little bit of other things like that too. But the gameplay was solid, nice graphics, a cool new character of Crush. I mean, it's fucking Konami. I mean, come on. Definitely wasn't bad. Just because it wasn't made by Naughty Dog, that doesn't mean it's a pile of beep. It was also the first game that you could play as Coco in the levels, not counting, of course, when she was with Purah in Crash 3. Now what I have to say is that many people not have realized this, but the masks in Crash 4 were inspired from the masks from the original Crash 4, The Wrath of Cortex. And they did change it up where all the masks that were in Wrath of Cortex were all bad. They were all evil. But now all the masks in the new Crash 4 are all good. I'm sure many people back in the day thought that when they were playing the Wrath of Cortex that it wouldn't have been cool if Crash got to use their powers after defeating each mask. I'm sure a lot of people thought that. So no wonder we get that now in this new game. Crash's glory years were definitely the PS1 era, and then Crash only had a few good games on the PS2 era. Wrath of Cortex, Nitro Kart, and Twinsanity. I refuse to accept that Tag Team Racing is a great Crash game because of the way they treated the Crash character, and the other characters for that matter. How they made them all really shitty in the way they acted in the game, but that's a whole other rant entirely. If I was going to talk about that, this video would be a fucking hour. Maybe not an hour, but I will admit the gameplay in Tag Team Racing was fun though. So I guess you can call that one a mixed bag. But only three solid games on the PS2 were the three I mentioned. Then after that, Crash just fucking died. But our favorite 90s Marsupial is back. Thank fucking God. He was gone for too long, mismanaged by all these fucking shitty companies like Activision and all this other shit, treating an icon like garbage, when meanwhile all these fucking years Mario and Sonic got to ride these giant fucking waves of popularity, and Crash used to be popular, but they fucked up big time and they wrecked his later legacy. And now they're trying to resurrect all that and make things all bright and better again. It should have been fucking handled back then. But we don't have a time machine, we can't travel back in time to fix those mistakes, to right those wrongs. But they can go back in time in the new Crash 4 game. So, fascinating. It's almost as if the plot of this game involving the time travel, going back in time, forward in time, it's all trying to be a subtle reference to the fact that these companies fucked up Crash and now they're trying to fix him, trying to redo the past of Crash's shitty past. Fascinating. It's not really a bad idea. At first, I really didn't like the title of this game. I kind of half hated it, and I had to take a long time to decide whether the title made sense, Should it have this kind of title? It offended me because I'm such a big Crash fan, I'm such a loyalist, I'm into the timeline. The saga of what happened in those old games meant so much to me as a child and still does to as an adult that I thought it was disrespectful to the original Crash 4, which is a good game, so I didn't really like this idea of calling it Crash 4. We've been with Crash for so fucking long, it's strange to call it Crash 4 after such a long fucking massive time gap. And at first I didn't like the subtitle, it's about time, but the longer time passes by, ironically, I think the title is kind of clever. I mean, obviously we all know what it means, and it does make sense. I mean, who are the most people buying Crash 4? The old Crash fans, most of them. So this title makes sense. You know, the only reason I felt okay with the 4 being in the title later on, after I played the game, and I realized what they did, where Crash and Coco were in the past, and then Cortex and the rest of them were in the future, and they time traveled to the past. So now the past becomes the present. So that kind of makes the title of 4 okay. It is pretty much attempting to right the wrongs of all those shitty games that plagued Crash's legacy for so fucking long. Also, I was thinking that the time travel theme in Crash 4 is taken direct inspiration from the time travel stuff in Crash 3, Warped. All the levels, traveling to different time periods. So they were basically doing the same thing they did in Crash 3 so long ago. Perhaps this is an attempt to make it feel close to the third game, people's memories of the third game, to keep that consistency there. If this version of Crash 4 came out back in the day after Crash 3, and it was still with time travel, that would probably be kind of boring. But since there's such a long time now since the third game, it kind of works. Now, all I ever see from reviewers of this game is that everybody loves it. They think it's amazing. I gotta admit, I love it. I do think it's amazing, but no one seems to have any complaints. Hardly. Like, no complaints. I really love Crash, and I do love this game, and they did a great job, but I got a lot of things I gotta say that are complaints. But I think the game's amazing. So obviously the two things I like, the first one is that it brings Crash back to his roots. It's that same old great gameplay from the original trilogy. Once again, the timing and complexity of jumping on the boxes, dodging enemies, all that shit is there that we loved from the old games. And also the secrets. There were all these like little secrets in the levels to find stuff, like gems and other things, like hidden on the side of the level and things like that. Oh my god, seeing that was so fucking nostalgic to me. We have not seen that amazing shit since the Crash trilogy way back in the day. So that was amazing. That truly felt like a real time travel back. Gotta say, it was neat to hear the voice of Invader Zim be one of the masks in Crash 4 of Lani Lowly. That was pretty neat to hear. I mean, hearing that voice in this game is like nostalgia on top of nostalgia.
What are you hiding, Dogman? Tell me! Tell me!
Now, on to the complaints. In this game, unfortunately, Crash has a new shitty voice that for some strange reason keeps getting praise all over the internet. I really don't get it. It's great that you don't get to hear it that much, his new voice, thank God. It reminds me of his voice from the PS2 era. Hearing it just brings back bad memories of what they did to the character.
Oh!
Thank you, Crash. My powers were useless against them. This is somehow related to the strange mutants we've been fighting.
The character's integrity is here in the game as a character, but His new voice, I think it's a dud, and I really don't like to hear it. Now, especially since this is called Crash 4, there should be a big attempt to make Crash sound as close to he sounded in the original trilogy as they could possibly get.
Whoa! 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 Yaha! Ha-ha! Woohoo! Whoa!
But nope. I mean, I don't really hear that effort. It definitely sounds like his voice from the PS2 era. It's got those vibes to it, those stupid like little grunts and things that he says. All that annoying, ear-bleeding sounds are not the kind of sounds that we heard from Crash during the PS1 era. So, sorry, I'm not a fan. Though the game kind of makes up for it because most of the time you don't get to hear it. So, that's true. So I love that you can play as Dingodile in this game. I think that's really awesome. The voice is really good, and his levels are fun, even though his gameplay is like a ripoff of Luigi's Mansion, but whatever. And one of the things that doesn't make sense to me is, you know, Dingodile is supposed to have a flamethrower. That's his special weapon that he had back in the day. That made him so dangerous and a threat to Crash, and, you know, that's his classic thing. But in this game, he has like a vacuum, and it's like, what? Why isn't it a flamethrower? Don't get that. You couldn't burn the boxes to get the Wampa fruit? And then with the TNT and Nitro, you could have just like jumped on them and dodged them instead of blowing those up. Something like that. But they could have found clever ways to blow those things up. Now I'm really here to talk about Dingodile's new design. I'm not really a fan of it. I don't know, he just looks pretty ugly. I don't really get it, like, he's just kind of like his stomach has like he has like triple chins, and he has like all these layers of fat on his stomach, and I don't know, Dingodile, like, he's supposed to be, I mean, he's like thin in the old game, in the original. I don't know, they made him fat now, and he's got like way more teeth, and it's just something about, like, he looks like a generic Spyro throwaway villain that you would kill in like the new Spyro Reignited trilogy. He doesn't really look like the way a main important Crash character should look. Like, he's not polished the way he should be. I don't know, just because he lives in the swamp and, you know, everything's gross there, does that mean he has to look like the way he looks in this new game? I don't know. Not the biggest fan of it, but they did the character's personality right, for the most part. Now, when you start dying too many times, just like in the old Crash games, they'll give you an Aku Aku mask in Dingodile's level. But I got a rant about this. You know, Dingodile in this game, he becomes a good guy, which is cool. But in his first level, you can get an Aku Aku mask. I think it's probably in one of the boxes too. And that doesn't make any sense. Aku Aku was already with him in his first level, even though they don't establish that he's a good guy now. Not yet. Why is that in the level? It seems like a minor complaint, but to me, it just, like, storyline-wise, that's just pretty lazy, you know? That should not be, like, when I saw that didn't make sense to me. Because I didn't know he turned good yet, so I was playing it in order. I tried to shield myself as much as possible from too much information about the game on the internet before I played it, so that's some BS. I mean, since he's still a villain, he should be bewildered and wondering why Aku Aku is even there to help him. At that time, Aku Aku shouldn't have even been helping him because of all their history, because he's a Crash villain. You know, they would butt heads. Like, that doesn't make sense. Dingodile was under the authority of Uka Uka, so Now I get it. In the story, early in the game, Uka Uka apparently dies, something like that. So you couldn't have him, you couldn't have a Uka Uka mask protecting Dingodile in the first level. Well then don't have a fucking Aku Aku mask in that first level. Don't do it then. Don't let it be an option in that level. That's what they should have done. I love Aku Aku's voice in the new game. Good job. Very sad that the original voice of Aku Aku passed away. Rest in peace to Crash's greatest pal. A little complaint is I think Aku Aku's design in Crash 4 is a little bland. I don't know, he just seems like he has a little less detail than the original way he looked. He has like less color on him, and I don't know, like his eyes are a little bigger, something. Just something doesn't look as good. And he even looked weird in the Insanity Trilogy redesign also. But this is fucking Crash 4. Can't you make him look better than you did in the Insanity Trilogy? Really? Other than that, they did Aku Aku awesome. And I also love that shot at the end of the game when you beat the game and he's staring out in the distance, looking at all the water and all the islands, all the adventures that he's been through with Crash. That was amazing. That was really, that gave me a warm and fuzzy nostalgic feeling. Love that shit. That's a perfect way to end it. I also love that when you get Aku Aku in this new game, the way he spins around you is the way he spun around the players in CTR. That was an awesome throwback. Another complaint I have, for some reason playing this whole game, hardly did I get 3 Aku Aku masks. I think it only happened to me like twice in my whole game experience. I have no idea what that's all about. I don't know how all you guys felt, if you experienced that also. But I just remember back in the day, in the old games, you used to get 3 Aku Aku masks a lot, like quite a bit. I think in the old games they really spread the boxes, the Aku Aku boxes, out with good lengths of the levels. Here I didn't see any of that, so I think they screwed that up. Which sucks because this is Crash 4. I want to see how it looks now with Crash getting the 3rd Aku Aku masks. Also, I thought of an idea that they didn't do. Since it's Crash 4, what they could have done was allowed you to get a 4th Aku Aku mask. That would have been sick, you know, Crash 4. And maybe he's like even more powerful or something. I don't know, it could have been like a rare thing that they did like maybe in 3 levels, like a secret thing. That would have been neat, but like maybe it could have gave Crash a new unique power or ability that you could only get when you get 4 Aku Aku masks. I mean, they introduced other new boxes in this game. I think there was 2 new ones, but for some reason, they didn't even think of doing that.
Moron! This Bandicoot will be my general, and he will lead my Cortex commandos to world domination. This time I shall reign triumphant!